I saw Blockers, and Charlie, you saw
Cock.
We had to convince Steve that the movie's either bad or good. So this is a new format.
I was going to ask Charlie, but he also saw a movie in addition to Cock.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you see, it was in the theater. It was a real Resident Evil scenario.
Nice. Let's do this on the other side.
Are you ready for Movie Versus? Welcome to Movie Versus, the podcast where we pin two terrible movies in an all-out battle for the best of the worst. Here are your hosts, Tyler Lamb, Charlie Pixley, and Steve Janik. All on Movie Versus!
Hey, everybody, welcome to Movie Versus, the podcast in defense of bad movies. My name is Tyler Lamb. I am one of the hosts. Charlie Pixley is another
You still
host.
can't figure out what to do with that sentence.
Coming to you through the digital dark web today.
Yeah, we're back to the dark web for Charlie.
Too bad we aren't reviewing
I never leave.
Ready Player One.
Yeah, that's true. Or Black Hat.
Yeah.
Starring...
Or The Net.
Yeah, or Fear.com.
Let's just not go. Just not name every movie about the internet real quick.
And that's Steve Janik, the fellow internet movie aficionado.
Yes.
How's it going, Steve?
It's going pretty good.
I didn't say what's up, Chuck. So
I was going to say X versus Sever. Steve, who wins?
that's actually an episode. It's just going to be X versus Sever.
So Tyler's only allowed to watch scenes with exclusively X, and Charlie's only allowed to watch scenes with exclusively Sever, and I get the scenes where they're together.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I get the Antonio Banderas, whoever plays on it.
And then obviously that episode is going to have to be, the name of the podcast is going to be Ballistic.
Oh, yeah.
So then when you read it, it's Ballistic X versus Sever. Like the movie. Get the joke?
Yep.
I was going to say we call it like Spaghetti Western Chat, and then just do that one movie.
Well, we start out talking about Once Upon a Time in Mexico or something like that. Something that Antonio Banderas was in, like Shrek 2.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you start with Shrek 2. You gotta start with the strongest performances.
Yeah, obviously. So, on this episode, Charlie and I actually saw the same movie. Steve, explain.
So what's going on? We're going with a slightly different format. Rather than you guys defending two movies and me deciding on which one I want to see, you guys are both talking about the same movie, where one of them, Charlie, is taking the pro side and is going to be defending the movie, and Tyler is taking the con side and will be actively trying to get me to not see this movie. And then at the end, I will say who's more convincing, and I promise that some point this weekend, because I do not have a test on Tuesday, I will see this movie.
Oh, so I already lost?
Well, no, sorry, I didn't mean will see this movie. I mean,
I was gonna say, Steve, I will pay you to see this movie.
I meant to say I will follow up on whichever I do. So therefore, if Charlie does win, I will see it. But if he does not win, I will set fire to all theaters playing it.
So you will follow up with not doing anything.
You know, that's a bold move to plan that far ahead, something like that, Steve.
No, I have laid the groundwork for this across the country.
You really think that you could commit to not doing something? So I guess let's just get the show on the road then.
So I will say, I encourage you guys to kind of, I will probably ask one of you to begin talking about this movie, and I will at some point maybe ask the other person to kind of take over the focal point. But I encourage you guys both kind of like saying things about the movie as they come up.
Okay.
Like
we
as
could explain the plot neutrally too.
Yeah. That's what. Yeah, I feel like no matter what the synopsis, you're gonna get the same thing.
Okay.
I feel because
Tyler just goes, "Well, this stupid fucking movie
has the dumbest fucking plot ever."
Right.
Which
okay.
It does.
So Tyler, why don't you start off with a synopsis, and then at some point
So
And if he's like missing things that you
Sure.
feel are important or something, feel free to chime in, Charlie. But like, don't come in with be like, and which I found was the most important and best part
I
of the
got
film.
you.
So honestly, I mean, the trailer did a pretty good job of kind of
Groundwork.
Yeah. So they were their kids. Their first day of, I guess, I don't know what it would be, maybe first grade or kindergarten or something like
Yeah,
that.
probably kindergarten.
Their first day, all three kind of become friends. How kids do. You know, like how like little kids are just like, hey, be my.
I am
let's-
near you
Are we
right
friends?
now.
We're friends now. I mean, I think that's actually literally what happens in the movie. Like a kid just goes, "We're friends now," or something like that. And it's like, okay. And the parents are like, "Oh man, this means we're friends."
It's actually reverse. And when you're
Yeah,
that age, you are the friends of your parents' friends.
Fast forward to
Well, children.
to it's prom night. Or it's prom day. They're getting ready for prom. Everybody is. It's showing, you know, how they are with the kids. It turns out the main thing that the trailers didn't really show is that none of them like Ike Barinholtz's character.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of like shown as he's kind of shown as
The
I guess
outsider.
the outsider. Yeah, exactly. Turns out he cheated on his wife.
Ooh.
So he was kind of, and also the three parents aren't really friends at all.
Yeah.
like they don't hang out. And,
Oh, that's weird.
yeah. So things happen. There's like I guess it's like a little backyard pre-prom party. I guess
Oh,
that's a
and
thing.
they're just all there because
They
all
do
the
their
girls are
photos
together.
and stuff.
Yeah. And then Ike Barinholtz comes in, surprises them all at the limo, and so that's how he gets there too. And then the whole seeing the text messages, figuring out,
Right.
you know, what's going on.
So is it at Ike Barinholtz's ex's house?
No, it's at Leslie Mann's house.
Okay. I just
Which-
wasn't sure if like his ex-wife was there. I mean, was she there?
Which is she
Okay.
was. Which
Yes.
it was June Diane Raphael actually,
And
Hannibal Buress. Hannibal Buress was his ex-wife. No, Hannibal Buress was.
I'm sorry, Tyler. I'm definitely seeing this movie now.
it's over. Total knockout.
June Diane Raphael and Hannibal Buress are now together.
yeah.
And they're hardly in the movie though. And the
Well played. A little dig there, Tyler. Hannibal Buress hardly
I mean,
in
they're
this
not.
film.
They're not even in the trailer, so
Yeah,
I wouldn't
exactly.
expect
That's-
them to be. You know,
It was. I was riding high, and then I was just knocked from my perch, Charlie.
yeah, and so and the other thing is, Ike Barinholtz is kind of he's against it. He doesn't want them to.
No, he wants them to all get hook up.
Pretty much, yeah. Except he knows that his kind of quotation marks for knows, you know, air quotes or whatever, that his daughter's a lesbian.
Oh, okay.
She's never come out to him, but he's like, he's kind of like, I don't want her to do something that she feels pressured into doing because of your guys' kids wanting to do this. But also at the same time, he's kind of like, he was trying to stop them from even going to follow them to the
Okay.
prom. He was like, no, guys, what the fuck are you doing? Like, let them be fucking kids. Like, they're teenagers. They have sex.
Steve,
Like,
I want to clarify just for the character's sake, just because of the way you phrased it, Steve. He's not pro his kids fucking or pro the kids fucking. He's just pro letting them do what they want.
Right.
yeah.
I see what
I
you're
don't think he's like, yeah, they
It's
should
ki- it-
fuck.
well, there was
I
that
don't
one
wanna- I
line
don't
where
wanna
he
get
was
too-
like, I'd love to see that, which I thought was kind of weird, but
What part?
I'm
I just don't-
I'm kidding.
Dude, I wouldn't be surprised.
not to be too political, but it's like if you're pro-choice, you're not pro-abortion. like actively pro. Like go get pregnant so you can get aborted.
Okay, I get what you're saying. I don't know
Hot
why.
take.
Yeah, where's the air horn, Steve?
Apparently.
So, yeah, they go to the prom, and what am I? So, I mean, they go there, and then they're like, "This sucks. Let's go to the lake
After
house."
party,
Yeah, the after party thing. Then they go there. That's where the butt chugging thing happens. I'm pretty sure. Then,
Yep.
then they the cops come to that. So
It seems like a good point.
Parents
to
are
cut
essentially
over.
like 5 minutes behind him, about 5-10 minutes behind him.
yeah,
Right?
yeah. About, I mean, yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Charlie, do you want to pick it up from here for a little bit? Because Tyler's gotten some in already.
Sure. So the parents they're like 5-10 minutes behind because they're always trying to figure out where the next location is.
Right.
So after they leave the lake house, then it's a hotel party, I believe.
Yeah.
That some kid was putting on, and that is what more or less their final destination for the night. They're partying.
Oh my God! So they all
And-
die.
Yeah, the guy who plays Candyman
Yeah.
shows up.
Oh,
and
Jesus.
he...
Uh-huh. That's actually one of the girls' dates. That's how you get. Never mind. So they kind of all split off into their own thing, and then that's when the movie breaks into each of the three girls going through their night. Is this one gonna have sex? Is this one gonna have
Right.
sex? So on and so on. And then the parents start going in and trying to find them individually and
Okay.
get into all sorts of hijinks along the way. And
All right.
then when we figure out what happens with each person, that's when then the movie starts to wrap up. But it's kind of like their hunt for the kids along the way. I mean, that's
Okay.
basically the whole movie there, right?
yeah,
If we
yeah.
had to summarize it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Well, then I will start with you, Tyler, since you are Khan. What was
An easy position to be in for this movie.
Ooh.
A hard
Starting-
position.
Starting
Boom.
strong.
Damn, he got me.
So, what was the absolute worst joke, like your biggest eye roll in this entire movie?
I mean, there was a moment that was played off to try to be like a joke, but it was really like, it wasn't eye-rolly, but it was like, that wasn't funny. These characters are just fucking kind of pieces of shit. So the
Like the parents?
yes,
Okay.
the parents. There's a scene where, so Ike Barinholtz, obviously they haven't talked to him or anything like that, and then they get into this car crash. All this stuff happens, and all of them are fighting. And Leslie Mann's like, "I'm gonna be so alone because she's gonna go off to college." Blah blah blah. And John Cena's like, "Are you fucking kidding me? I call you all the time, to try to hang out, and you never, return my calls. You never, want to hang out or anything. You're actively
Avoiding.
yeah, you're complaining about being alone. What the fuck?" And they're kind of bitching about that and bitching about their kids in a way, I guess, and how oh, my kid's gonna grow apart from me, all this. And Ike Barinholtz is just kind of fuck you guys, because. And they're like, "Oh, why? Boo-hoo, your daughter, you cheated on your wife." And he's like, "You guys didn't even fucking, ask me my side of the whole story." He's like, "I'm just the cheater. That's what I am." He's like, "You didn't ask me. You didn't know that she actually slept with her boss, a month before I slept with the babysitter. You didn't know that all this, and he's listing all this stuff and how he, tried to connect with his daughter but felt like he should push himself back a little bit because he was getting her involved with the divorce stuff and all, and to the point where they were just not, and all this stuff. And he's like, "And you guys didn't, you didn't say anything." And he's like, he's crying to a point, and then they're just kind of "Oh yeah, Ike, that's so." And then they're both like, "Oh, we got it, we got the idea." And they're just talking to each
wow.
other, "Yeah, we know what to do." And he's like, "Seriously, guys, you're not just." I just said all that, and you're not. And they're like, "Yeah, oh yeah, we just do this," completely ignoring him. And he's like,
Wow.
I guess it was good to say out loud. And you could tell it was supposed to be played as comedic, but I was like, what the these guys
That's-
are fucking assholes.
Yeah.
That's not funny. This dude literally just bared his fucking soul to them and called them out. And
I'm laughing because I'm recounting how funny it was.
and it started with the whole you guys never always dismissed me and still do, and then rant and then dismiss. But
Right.
I was like, are you
Okay.
fucking
I do
kidding me?
agree with Tyler on that one.
I mean that it would be hard to defend from your point of view, Charlie.
Well,
I will be
no,
honest.
I mean, I should say he's lying, or it was funny. No, but I do
Shit.
agree with that. Earlier in the movie, though, with the calling thing from John Cena, I did think it's funny when she's like, "Oh yeah, we should get together more often." He's like, "Yeah, I call you all the time." She's like, yeah, well, just call me again sometime. He's like, I do. It doesn't work. I call you all the time. I don't know if your number is disconnected. She's like, well, well, what? He's just like, no, you're not getting away from this. Like, explain why you're not picking up my calls.
All right. Okay.
I mean, that was just
not
in relation
funny.
to that part.
I felt like a little bright spotty in that seemingly shit show of a
Movie.
of a not of a scene.
I think it shows a good part of it too. Well, half of it is good.
Okay.
I do agree the reaction is bad, but I was impressed with that they would have had the character be that developed for Ike Barinholtz, because they deal with some serious stuff, like he was physically abused by his wife and
that's right, he
disrespected
does
in
say
public
that.
and
Yeah.
stuff. So which makes it worse because they dismiss it, but also I'm intrigued that it's like, okay, so it's not just like she actually cheated on me first. Like, they delve into some real, like, he really got fucked over in that situation, it seems. So
All right, so since we went kind of like something bad, Charlie, why don't you hit me with like your funniest joke?
there's this nursery that blows up. It's hilarious.
Oh, like a tree nursery?
No.
Where
No,
yuccas flying
okay, this
everywhere.
is so dumb. I laughed so hard at this. I just think it's super simple. I texted Tyler about it. They find the hotel. It's one of those huge, like 30-story hotels. They run inside. It's got the internal elevator going up, so you see like all the, what I'm
Like
talking about.
the glass kind.
Yeah. So, but like it's an open one, so you can look up and just see all the
Okay.
interiors of like all the floors. It's just rings around of rooms and stuff. They run in, go into the ground floor, and John Cena looks up. What? You're shaking your head.
Yeah, what are you talking about? I'm not shaking
I
my
thought
head.
this shit was so funny. John Cena walks in and he goes, "We're never gonna find him. There's like 20 rooms in here." And Ike Barinholtz just stops and he's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? There's at least like 200 rooms in this building." I thought that shit was just super funny because they show a shot and you can see more than 20 doors just in the shot alone, and like 30 floors of rooms. I thought the delivery was just great, and that Ike Barinholtz is so bothered by him being so dumb that it's like, we need to stop our search for our kids just for a second for me to address how stupid of a comment that was.
All right.
I laughed very hard.
Okay. So Tyler, on a similar joke.
Oh, hold on, real quick. I'm sorry to cut you off, but
Oh, yeah.
did you were you the one that was assigned Showgirls?
No, Charlie was.
Oh,
No, that was
okay,
me.
Never mind. Damn it.
Why?
Because you see Goldie Hawn's boobs in this movie too. Or Goldie Hawn, not Goldie Hawn. Wait, who's
Gina
the one?
Gershon?
Yeah, Gina Gershon. Why the fuck did I say
Wait,
Goldie
you see
Hawn?
Gina Gershon's boobs in this movie?
Yeah, she's in it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Wait, is
I
this movie
thought I
rated R?
recognized her.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, when we were saying like what the fuck is wrong with you and stuff, like that's the line. Like they.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This,
I did
this
not.
is-
I did not know this was
Oh,
was R.
dude, this is very R.
Yeah, you see dicks too.
Oh, wow.
And balls.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. You see a close-up shot of a ball
And one of the
being
most
squeezed.
painful
Ball.
shots to see of all time.
Yeah, hairy balls getting squeezed really hard.
Like BME Pain Olympic style.
Yeah.
Oh God. Wow.
Okay, so back to
So I'm sorry. I was very shaken by that.
hashtag shook.
Yeah. So Tyler, we talked about, I guess, a bad joke or like a cringy joke, but we talked about this a little bit last time.
Mm-hmm.
What was a joke that you thought was actually kind of good that then went one step too far, and you're like, well, we had it, but it's gone now.
Yeah, surprisingly, it was Ike Barinholtz's character.
Go, tell, go on.
It was so like you said, the ass beer thing, which I think it may work a little bit better. Actually, no, it doesn't. What am I talking about? But there's another scene where, I mean, it's just that typical, like, you know how sometimes you can tell when they're just like, and then just say things.
Yeah.
You know, like the director's like, I'm gonna say action, and then Ike, just do your thing, Ike. You're great.
Right.
And unfortunately, I think they do that with John Cena as well in this movie, and I do not think he's an improviser. But there's a scene where it's the classic. So the girl's trying to do sports analogies, but she's a girl, so she doesn't know what sports are. So
it's Leslie Mann doing this?
Yeah. To John Cena, because John Cena's daughter is like a softball player, and so I guess he coached the team she was on.
That's the impression I got.
Yeah,
at least when she was younger or something.
Yeah. And so, she's like trying to get him pumped up to do something, and so she's like, it's like, you're on the third base, and the puck is coming at you, and stuff like that.
What,
like ridiculous stuff like that. And Ike Barinholtz is just behind her, like spouting, being like, "What sport are you talking about?" But then he just keeps like naming. He almost never stops naming sports until the bit's completely over. And it's like, okay,
wow.
Yeah, we get
Hey,
it.
it's only like 10 minutes though.
Yeah, I was shocked at that. I mean, this dude dug out Australian Leagues football.
Oh wow.
that's how many sports he named.
Did he hit XFL?
No, he didn't. He didn't hit XFL.
Nah, because then it would have been fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it would have been that whole loop around where it's back to being funny.
He hate me.
That's a good point. So Charlie, oh God, what was that?
That's what we call puberty, or when someone squeezes your balls really hard, like in this movie.
Oh my God, that was so hard to watch. Like, for me, it just, it's like, oh, I really don't want to see that. And it also, you could just like imagine it.
Also,
just
that
'cause they showed a hand.
Yeah, that's another thing that kind of went a little bit too far and a little bit over the top as well. Like Stallone, straight up Stallone backwards hat over the top kind of thing.
Okay.
But yeah.
No, that happened in another Sylvester Stallone video.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So Charlie, hit me with were there any good family moments? Like, was there ever like a resolution where like you felt like the family had kind of like come to terms with like the kids are growing up sort of thing?
Oh yeah. I mean, I would say, Tyler, you probably agree with this. Leslie Mann's character is the most against her daughter hooking up. Well, pretty close with John Cena. They're about the same.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you want me to just explain what happens with each of them? Because that's like, I mean, I guess the big character moments of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind as long as we're not trying to like.
It's a comedy, so it's not like, oh, this twist.
Yeah.
Okay. So Leslie Mann's daughter ends up having sex with her boyfriend, and then John Cena's daughter, who was pretty enthusiastic about being in the club or the sex pact, she decides not to. But it's after John Cena throws her boyfriend like into the corner of the room.
No, that was she decided not to before that.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's seconds after. And then the other girl, she doesn't go through with it because she's with this dude that is fully decked out with a fedora and everything like that.
Ooh.
Which it was a funny moment later on.
And she's the lesbian as well.
Yeah. Exactly. So
Well,
then
obviously
she
she's with a
kisses
dude.
him, but then she realized like, okay, yeah, this definitely is not for me. And she has a good moment, a really good moment, I thought, with Ike Barinholtz's character, where she comes out to him, and I'm glad he didn't say like, oh, I know you're lesbian or whatever. He let it happen on its own. It's like, I'm not going to say this. I'm not going to assume this about you. She comes out to him, and he obviously is fully embracing her. He apologizes for not being there for that much of her life. It seems genuine to me, and promises to try and make better moments later on, and be more involved in her life. And he learns that she didn't tell anybody else first, not her mom, not her stepdad, or anything like that. So then that's a huge moment for him that she sees that he cares a ton about him or about her, and she's willing to reveal obviously one of what I would assume is one of the most personal things you could ever do in your life to her father. So that's a really good moment between those two.
Okay. All right. So Tyler, this is my standard question.
Mm-hmm.
Except it's a little different.
Boxers or briefs?
If you were cutting a trailer to make people not want to see this movie, like if for some reason this movie had wronged you, and you were like on track to try to destroy its run in theaters, what is the one thing you would make sure was in that trailer to get people not in those seats?
Ball squeezing.
Back to the ball. Okay, so you're gonna have to build the ball squeezing story. Like what happens in this scene that makes this happen?
So, Gina Gershaw and what's that guy's name?
I cannot remember for the life of me. I've been trying to think the whole time. It's Ricky Bobby's dad.
Yeah, and
oh, I know who you're talking about.
So
I'll look it up.
they're the parents of the guy that is dating Leslie Mann's daughter.
Okay.
And it's like they're polar opposite of these guys. They're like super open about sex, even with their son. Like their son knows that they have a sex life, and they kind of like encourage him to like not like in a weird way of like go have sex kind of thing.
No,
They
it
just
was
shower.
Oh, I mean, it was weird, but I don't think it was them specifically saying
They weren't showering him with condoms.
It's pretty close because he's like, he's texting him throughout the night. I'm gonna lose it tonight, you guys. I'm gonna lose my flower emoji to his
Oh,
favorite.
jeez.
and then later,
It's Gary Cole, by the way.
Okay.
Later, he's like, "Oh, let's have sex and then FaceTime my parents or something like that."
That's
But
super fucking weird.
so they need to go into the parents are trying to break into his parents' house to get their cell phone so they can figure out where the kids are, because they tried to ask them earlier and they were like, "Oh, we don't want to." Like, if they didn't tell you, they obviously like didn't want to tell you. We don't want to invade their. Like, they trusted us, kind of thing.
Right.
You know.
I know.
That's actually some pretty dope ass parenting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that part wasn't weird.
But
And that was
just
30
you wait.
seconds after he saw his vinegar strokes.
That is true. He made direct eye contact with John Cena as he was
Finishing?
excreting his semen into his wife.
I think Ike Barinholtz said he blew a load on your soul forever.
And I did think it was interesting that Ike Barinholtz is now in two things, two mediums where vinegar strokes have been.
Did they actually use the term vinegar
No,
strokes?
no, but
Okay.
it's like that same exact.
Right.
Because I'm pretty sure he was in that episode of The League because he went to their high school, didn't he?
Probably.
Yeah. So yeah, they got to break in there to get the phone. And when they go back to try to get the phone, and they're like climbing through the window. John Cena is to get it, and Gina Gershaw and what was his name again?
Gary Cole.
Gary
Gary
Cole.
Cole,
They're
man.
walking around their house. All the lights are off. They're blindfolded, and they're naked, and they're trying to like find each other. And it's like when they find each other, like, man. So this is where you first see his dick.
Wait, first see his dick?
Yeah. And then
I don't think you saw it a second time. I thought it was just dick the one time, then balls after.
yeah, probably. And then it gets into this thing where for some reason Ike goes into the house too, and they're like kind of stuck in the middle of them two finding each other.
Okay.
And then they think they find each other, but it's really the girl is touching Ike, and then John Cena is having to touch the guy, because
Right,
she's
right,
like,
right.
"Oh, I'm scratching your chest. Do you like that?" And so he's got to do it back. And then the dad is not the dad. Gary Cole or Andrew
GC,
Cole or
GC.
whatever.
I wish it was Gary Coleman.
Oh God,
was- He's
very
like,
different film.
He's like, "Grab my balls," or something like that, and she's like, "Okay." And so she grabs Ike's balls, and he's just like, "I want you to squeeze them," and she's like, I am," and he's like, "Harder," because he's like, "I want you to squeeze them," because John Cena is like, I'm not gonna touch his balls," and there's this whole like subtitled conversation between him and Ike where he's like, "You gotta mouthing like, you gotta touch his fucking balls, stop being homophobic," and stuff like that. Because apparently it's homophobic to not touch another man's genitals.
Well, yeah, that's it.
I mean,
John
you
Cena's
have
like,
to-
what the fuck?
You have to learn how to be more accepting of other people's lives.
And then and so she's like, okay, I'll squeeze him harder, and then it gets to her. She like squeezes him super hard, and then it cuts to a full shot where it's just a
Burst
close up,
scene.
close up of a pair of balls getting squeezed by hand.
They bust.
What do you mean bust?
Oh, I saw the unrated cut.
Oh, okay. I don't know what he's talking about.
I'm joking as if they
Okay.
would show balls
was-
explode.
Oh,
like,
sorry,
really fucking
sorry.
confused.
You were doing a thing that I just watched like 2 hours of something where they didn't do that. The joking thing you said you did. Yeah. Being this movie
Okay.
didn't make a joke.
Gotcha.
There we go. God,
Okay.
Jesus.
Oh,
Christ.
just like this?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Hot takes. All right, same question to you, Charlie. But what should be in this trailer? Like
More
what?
ball squeezing.
Yeah, I'm gonna just can the same answer. No. Let's see. I would probably show the relationship between the parents,
Okay.
how it's kind of fractured at the beginning. Whereas in the trailer, I was under the assumption that they were still all
Yeah,
great friends.
it did seem like they were like best friends.
Yeah, so that's really a majority of what I would change.
Okay.
And the rest is still pretty representative of it.
All right.
But that adds a little bit of a different dynamic. Oh, actually, I would also add in that Ike Barinholtz is trying to stop them initially.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, because there's
'Cause
like
that
a
was
whole. There's
Because
like a whole.
that does add like an actual like a different dynamic to the whole thing.
Well, and there's a whole
Yeah.
kind of like fight scene between all of them where he's trying to stop them from going initially.
Okay,
I like the. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say because there was that scene in the trailer where he said like my dad was too busy high fiving me, and I thought that was like a little of a weird thing to say about the whole situation.
I don't
But,
even
like,
think that made the final cut.
Yeah, I
that
don't
scene
remember
did,
hearing
but
that.
I don't think that line did.
Oh, that's weird because like that kind of confused me. But now that you say that he was kind of against them, that kind of makes that make a little more sense. Like,
yeah,
if that
when
had-
they're getting
if
in,
that said-
they're having a fight to get in the car, and Ike Barinholtz is rolling up the window, and John Cena catches it with his hand. He's like, "What, dude? You're not fucking Schwarzenegger." And then Cena just stares him in the eyes and forces the car window back down into the door, which was pretty funny, and jumps in and again crushes his nuts. That's twice now.
That's right.
Alright.
Nut crushing.
But but saying that and then seeing the fear on Ike Barinholtz's face as he forces that window down.
I mean, I
John-
can imagine being terrified.
John
of
Cena
that.
has gigantic hands.
Well, he has gigantic. Like the man is gigantic.
No, like his hands are enormous.
Oh, okay.
Like I don't know if you noticed that, Charlie, watching the movie. Maybe it was just because of the clothes he was wearing, but like it accentuated to me how just like large his hands were. I was like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Interesting. I had no idea that he was such a well-handed individual.
Boo.
Indeed.
Let's see. I don't know. I feel like we should kind of go into like anything that stands out to you guys.
Okay.
Like just kind of like a rundown.
I have a
of
character
things.
thing that was interesting as well. I thought the interaction between Leslie Mann's character and John Cena's wife was interesting because they go back to his house to try and find some piece of information to help them find out where to go. And the wife wakes up. She's like, "What the hell are you guys doing?" And they said, "Oh, our daughter's in this sex pact. We got to stop her." And the mom is agreeing with Ike Barinholtz. She's saying, "No, that's bullshit. This is some double standard. Girls should be allowed to, have sex and not be slut shamed. Just like, you get what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, oh, for boys it's encouraged, yada yada." And then she starts going off specifically on Leslie Mann's character. She's like, "And you, of all people, you should be you're betraying your gender, all this stuff." And then it was just kind of nice to see both sides. It's like she has some points too. She might be going to the extreme a little bit, but so might Leslie Mann. But Leslie Mann character is saying like, she actually says that, "Don't think I'm going to go blow up abortion clinics just because I don't want my daughter to make the same mistake that I did." So it's
wow.
well, it's not each, it's not a full generalization one way or the other. So I thought that was a little bit of an interesting conversation because it got pretty heated between those two for a bit. Would you agree, Tyler?
Well, I took that whole scene as just it was the equivalent of in Star Wars The Force Awakens when I know I started that sentence off and it sounds like this is going to be a ridiculous statement. But when he's like, "Oh man, that just looks like a bigger Death Star." And you know what I mean? Like
Right.
where it's like they knew that like not fans, but viewers were going to be especially in today's climate where I mean, that is a double standard. The whole like, oh, guys, yeah, get your fuck on, and like, oh, girls can't. I'm the protective dad. Blah blah blah. You can't. And I took it as the equivalent of, oh man, fans are gonna just complain that it's the same thing. It's just a Death Star again. But if we have a character say it's another Death Star, then it's funny.
Well, but it wasn't played for like a comedy thing.
No, I'm saying then it's like us
I know.
acknowledging.
Yeah,
that,
I know what he's saying. Like you get a pass because
like, we acknowledged the problem that we're.
No, but that's acknowledged all throughout. Like
perpetuating.
the kids keep saying that, and the other parents have said that too. Or at least I disagree with that personally. I just thought it was interesting for her to bring it up to show the other side a little bit. Leslie Mann's character. Most of the people are on the side, other than the nut jobs following their kids, that it's like, hey, the kids are going to be kids. I mean, let them do their own thing. But so I feel like that's kind of what most of the people felt like in the movie. And then Leslie Mann's character kind of showing her side of like, that doesn't mean that I also can't feel this way about my kid, regardless of if they're a girl or a boy.
Okay, that's fair. So, Tyler, any like standout things that you just straight up were like, oh god, this fucking movie is this fucking movie?
Well, I feel like I had something and then I completely forgot. I mean, mainly the whole thing.
Interesting,
But
go on.
it's you got John Cena, and I know that he is like buff as hell, but the man can only carry so much. He's not going to be able to take this entire move. You know what I mean? And there were moments like I thought that John Cena's character and Leslie Mann's character were kind of like, especially towards Ike. Near that part, you know, they were, and it was just weird and not really funny in any way. I thought it was. I mean, I guess it is something very personal, like you said, Charlie. But I thought it was kind of odd how they played these girls up as being like super best friends, close since they were in first grade. But the one girl had never even mentioned anything about liking girls or being to them at all.
Right.
Like I thought that was kind of odd.
Jay, she was hiding it from everybody though.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I don't know.
She
I guess
was even hiding it from herself.
no, she wasn't. I don't know. It just seemed, and I get that. And obviously, everybody's different. It just seemed to me, I was like, why wouldn't she maybe at least say something to them? Being like, hey, have you ever thought about sucking a girl's dick?
Well, she wasn't even sure until she asked that girl too. Remember, she's like, she asked another lesbian she knew. She's like, how do you become unconfused about what you are? She's like, I knew when I was holding this limp dick, and that shit was fucking disgusting.
And that she started a parody band called Limp Bizkit. What songs would they sing, guys?
I'm trying to think of something with Nookie.
All I was gonna say was that they would still have an album called
Chocolate Stars.
Hot Dog Flavored Water.
True. Yeah, you probably wouldn't have to rename anything.
Change any of the lyrics.
Yeah.
It's just a Limp Bizkit cover band.
Yeah. So, I mean, there was. Fuck, I'm just trying to think of. There were a lot of just problems with the movie that. I don't know. It's hard for me to pinpoint exact moments, especially. I mean, yeah, I saw it a couple. No, I actually saw it last night. Whoops.
I thought you were gonna say I saw it a couple times.
just to make sure.
In the 2 days since it's been since you were assigned this movie.
Yeah. But yeah, it just wasn't. I mean, it tried hard to be something that it didn't end up accomplishing, I felt.
Okay. All right.
What did you think that it tried to be?
I mean, comedy.
Okay.
And I don't know, I didn't feel like the character moments really worked to me.
Sure.
And also also Ike Barinholtz looked, and Junjai and Raphael, I do not understand how their child would look anything like that girl. like she.
Two redhead people can have a friggin' dinosaur.
Charlie, that's just a redheaded child.
Oh God! You mean I shouldn't have been gathering them up and donating them to the local government agencies?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say and adding them to the island that you have where you're gonna start a theme park.
Jesus, this
Okay.
has gone
So Steve,
very crazy.
so
Oh, sorry.
the day after I
Wow.
got assigned this, my buddy came up to me. He's like, "Dude, I tried to see Black Panther, but it was all sold out." It's like, "Yeah, screw it. I'll go see Cockblockers," and I freaking loved it. And I was like, "Okay, this is pretty good." So I went into it thinking like, "All right, I got some high-ish expectations now." I went in, and my overall thoughts were there are some parts that.
So aren't you supposed to be trying to make this sound like it's a really good movie?
I'm just trying to be honest, and I'm giving my honest thoughts because I honestly did like it.
Okay.
So there are some pacing issues. There are parts where I really was laughing hard. I thought Leslie Mann was a little weak at times, but she was very good at other times. Ike Barinholtz and John Cena were definitely the best. A lot of the stuff with the kids was funnier than I thought it was going to be. And some of the way they acted, I don't know. Some parts were not great, of course. Like the movie wasn't perfect. It's a comedy. That's rarely ever perfect. But I like it when some parts of it feel natural. Just certain jokes and setup, and they sound like how kids would actually talk to each other, and not like, "Hey, I'm kid A, you're kid B." Joke, 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 joke.
Right.
At least that's how I felt.
I kind of felt like it was adults trying, like, writing what they think kids sound like.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Okay, I didn't think that. I overall do not regret paying for it, and I would recommend it. Hannibal Buress is funny in it, even though he's in it for a short amount of time. When he's talking to the daughter, and he's like, "Let me sit you down and talk to you. You know, these are some good friends, and you know, you're gonna have a good night, one of the time of your life, and blah blah blah, and just make sure you're safe and stuff." And then the ex-wife comes in and is like, "No, that's all wrong. You're never gonna remember these people. You're not gonna have any friends, blah blah blah, and you don't have to worry about all that stuff, blah blah blah." But he was very funny, and I thought, even though it was brief, and I don't know, I'm a sucker for John Cena.
I know
thought
you
he was
are.
good. Even if I don't win, I don't regret paying the price of admission.
Okay. Okay, so absolute last call. Anything else for either of you?
No, I think that's
Okay.
about it, I guess.
So I'm gonna say that I think I'm gonna side with Tyler on this one,
Okay.
mostly because like I feel like it was a lot of that, like it was almost good and then it like shot itself in the foot the way it was sounding. Like
Sure.
all the stuff that I thought that you were making good points on, Charlie, it sounded like that they kind of tried at the very last moment to kind of, like, even the good stuff to kind of play as a cheap laugh, like as an afterthought
Yeah.
almost.
Sure.
So like even when they were trying to do like Tyler said, when they were trying to like make a good moment, they were just like, "Oh, by the way, fuck this actual moment." So
Okay.
so that's why I'm gonna hit up Tyler on the very first Solo movie verse.
So I pretty much agree with everything Charlie said.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so easy to shit on something.
Yeah. Wow.
I did think that sometimes the kids were written like how adults think kids sound. That's one thing I do agree with. I actually did think. There were, yeah, I mean, Charlie pretty much summed it up. There were moments that didn't really hit well as far as like comedy wise, like and there were sometimes for me, like, things can get a little too ridiculous
Right.
You know, and like sometimes it did that. Surprisingly, the ass beer thing wasn't really one of those moments. I think
interesting.
I don't think they ever really went to like super ridiculous with that. Charlie, I don't know if you agree.
No, I mean you
like-
basically see the whole thing.
Yeah,
Well, the lip gloss part was pretty.
Yeah,
good,
the
I
lip gloss
thought,
was
but-
funny because John Cena asked him to lube it up, and Ike was like, "I'm just gonna spit on it," and he's like, "No, I don't want your spit.
I would agree with that.
I don't want your spit in me." And he's like, "But you want hers?" Like, and he's like, "She's a girl." And he's like,
No, it wasn't that. It was better because he's like, "What? Because I'm a dude." He goes, "No, because you're disgusting."
that's right. And she's like, "Well, I think I have some lip gloss." And then I think she turns to Ike and is like, "I don't have lip gloss," and so he just is like, "Oh, fuck it," and spits on it. and then also the kids weren't doing it; they were just acting. He was just acting like he was butt chugging, like he didn't. Yeah, he was like, "Oh man,
That was kind of disappointing to me because I was hoping they're like, it's the new age.
Yeah.
We're doing
2018,
this. And I was
bitch,
hoping
we
he was
butt
just
chugged.
gonna be a fucking champ.
There's a scene where they got in a car crash, and the way that the car was, and the car just fucking like blows up after a while. That was a little bit too like ridiculous for me because it was just
I
like
didn't like
it was
the
just sat
explosion.
straight up like this.
I didn't mind. Okay, yeah, that part was a little ridiculous, but I did like when Ike's like, "All right, I know how we get out of this. On three, everybody lean back. Just 1, 2, 3, and they just, and then you just see the car just flip over on top, and they're just going, "Oh shit!" and it's just rolling
Yeah,
over. I
there's
thought that part was funny,
there's
but yeah,
a-
flipping up forward, it's like, okay.
I mean, there's a scene where all of the kids are projectile vomiting everywhere, which, of course, you know I'm a sucker for vomit. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
I know you
funny.
enjoy it
I
greatly.
forgot about that part.
And
Oh, dude, they go to the gas station afterwards, and the kid comes out, and he's like, "Oh, do you guys think these? They have to all buy new like gas station
yeah,
clothes."
that's right.
He's like, "Do these clothes look good with my fedora?" Just kidding. I know they do.
Well, and Ike Barinholtz like legitimately thinks the fedora is cool too. Like he's like,
course he
he's like,
does.
who's that guy with that sweet hat?
Maybe we just take a photo where I'm like holding it and take it from you.
John Cena was pretty funny. Ike Barinholtz. I mean, they were all pretty funny. And I mean, yeah, I don't regret seeing it either. I don't know if I would have gone out of my way to see it otherwise. And unlike Charlie, I don't know if I would necessarily recommend it. If that like maybe not.
Depends on the person.
Yeah, it depends on the person, and maybe like it would be more of a Redbox it
Okay.
kind of
Yeah,
thing.
I mean, I didn't necessarily say go like recommend for theater,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
if it was on Netflix or something, yeah, go for it, absolutely.
Mhm, yeah,
All right.
definitely.
All right.
But yeah, it was.
Then I may wait and rent this one because it sounds like I chose
The-
slightly incorrectly, but not completely incorrectly.
There's a kid they called a chef in it, and all the stuff with his smirk I thought was hilarious. Whenever they'd zoom in on it, and John Cena's just like that fucking smirk, but he's the chef and he makes all the stuff with the drugs and like for the
right.
high school and etc. And the John Cena's daughter just wants to get super, just gone as hell. And he's like, "Oh, I made these macaroons," and he goes into all this description of what he baked, and she's like, "Yeah, whatever, just give me the drugs." And he's like, "Yeah, it's got a nice vanilla coating and raspberry filling that adds a little tart to the inside," and just goes on and on. Just like, but what about the drugs? Just get it to me. I just thought that was funny, him going into
Yeah,
detail about his
except there was a
creation.
lot of like not how drugs work kind of thing
Right.
going, because
No,
she takes a bite
that's
of
like any movie.
yeah,
you know?
but she takes a bite of the cookie and immediately is like tripping balls or something like that. It's like
Although to be fair, I can't attest to what DMT does,
that's true, or Xanax, but
or both. those together.
yeah, but baked into a cookie. I don't even know how that would work. But still, I mean, like I would assume you'd still have to like digest it.
Right.
and it was nice with the drug character too, because he really isn't all drugged out most of the movie.
No,
'Cause
yeah, he's
you
fine.
can tell he does it enough where it's like, whatever, it doesn't really affect me. She's John Cena's daughter's like, "You're fucking me tonight. Your wiener's going inside me," and he's like, "I mean, we'll see where the night takes us." He's like, "I mean, if that's where the universe wants us to be," and he almost seems hesitant, but just
Yeah,
kind of
like it almost seemed like he didn't want to do it.
like, we'll see what happens. Like, I thought that was kind of refreshing.
Yeah. All right.
All right, so here you go, Steve. Here's the hold on, here we go. Here's the old Rotten Tomatoes stuff.
All right, so oh god, it is actually at an 82% on the tomato meter, but it is a 56 audience actually, so that's kind of interesting. Let me see.
Yeah, if you scroll down, critics' consensus should
Here we go.
right above the reviews.
Blockers puts
Probably because they trash talk Rick and Morty in it.
Yeah. Blockers puts a
Do they?
gender-swapped spin on the teen sex comedy. One elevated by strong performances, a smartly funny script, and a surprisingly enlightened perspective. Let's see. We got a fresh review. Mining uptightness for all its comic potential, Blockers comes down proudly on the side of the unblocked. Let's see. A negative is on a positive note, this will probably be our best be remembered for giving the lusty trio of female offspring the ultimate power of post-formal hotel room veto.
I didn't understand that sentence.
Yeah, what?
But that does remind me that John Cena thing in the hotel was fucking hilarious.
What?
When he walks in and says, "There's like 20 rooms in here."
Oh,
And-
dude,
and I-
so
and I-
funny.
yeah, and I-
Dude, I forgot. There's so many things I forget. When he's just like, there's montage of him opening up door after door, like walking towards
Yeah.
the camera. And when he opens up, and it's like these people wearing the animal
Yeah.
skulls and the black robes and a pentagram on the floor,
And
he just,
candles.
just looks at it. Play sports. It's just slams the door and walks out on him. It was funny.
But yeah. And then when I was just like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" There's like 200.
Okay, that's all right. Canon is dialed into how a teen girl prepping for what's till then the most memorable night of her life is no passive victim. She's a peak control freak.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's like a description of one of the
Yeah,
characters
that's what I was thinking
Yeah.
too. Like that was a character description.
for like the very beginning of the character.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
And this is a negative. Awkwardly tries to balance gross out gags with tender, warm, and fuzzy moments. So I don't know. I don't know how you
Is
feel
that
about
just comedy? Like,
No.
You want to? All right. Okay.
Got him.
Here's a bad one. It all starts going downhill around the time John Cena drinks beer through his butt. Until then, Blockers is a rather savvy and, if you squint really hard, even subversive comedy.
I guess there is a pretty big tonal shift when the butt chugging starts, and because that's kind of butt chug onward is where most of the. I mean, that's when the throw up and then the ball thing.
Okay.
That's all after that.
All right.
So I guess you could kind of say that about it. I suppose.
All right.
yeah.
And then this will be the last good one. Blockers is a sex positive sex comedy that plays for both teens and adults, and I'm not even sure there's been a film like it ever.
American Pie 3. That guy. sounded
That
like
shit
an
with
idiot.
American Beauty was pretty funny too.
Oh yeah, I kind of didn't like that joke though because
You didn't?
only because I thought you're telling me this fucking 18-year-old kid knows what American Beauty is. Both of them know what American Beauty is, and both of them watched it. I don't know.
It's a classic at this point.
Is it?
I mean, it won an Oscar.
Yeah, I know, but so did
Yeah, but-
Shakespeare in Love.
That doesn't mean they
did?
couldn't have. Though.
Shakespeare
I
in
think
Lo-
the joke still played off well.
Yeah, the joke was fine. Shakespeare in Love won Best Picture over Saving Private Ryan.
Wow.
Yeah, and Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close was nominated for an Oscar once. But yeah, I mean, the joke was fine because the girl says, she puts petals all over the bed, and she's like, "Oh man, this reminds me of that romantic comedy, American Beauty." And the guy's like, "Did you not finish that movie?" And she's like, "No, I only got like halfway through, and I had to."
I saw half of it on TV or something.
Yeah. But
Okay,
I was
that's pretty solid.
But I was like, you're telling me these two 18-year-old kids are catching up on their spacey
Right.
filmography.
Well, now they have to. To be fair, that joke was probably written and done pre fallout.
Hey, I mean, that doesn't even matter. After fucking Christopher Plummer came in and shot a whole movie in a week and then got nominated for an Oscar.
They actually refilmed American Beauty just for them to reference it in this movie.
Well, yeah, they put Christopher Plummer in his
Yeah.
That's
As the girl.
He is Kaiser Sose. What if he just? Never mind. We're not going to go down that tangent.
That's not what this podcast is about.
We're already going pretty long.
Okay.
So yeah. I guess both of our consensus, even though we had some differing opinions on some stuff, it was 100% toss up, like a mixed bag.
Right.
Like it was.
Sounds like it was like a 60 to 70% sort of situation.
Yeah, I mean it was good that.
Yeah.
I think it was a good choice for the first try doing this, just because it was so like you could do it either way. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad. It was.
I'd agree.
Yeah.
I mean, the movie was definitely more good than bad. I did not leave it feeling neutral. I was like, okay, I laughed enough. That was fine.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
All right. So that being said, I guess it's time to wrap up the old cast.
So what do we got?
Put a bow on it.
Let's see. We check out us on all the social media platforms at Movie Versus Podcast. That's Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I think is all of them. Then,
well, Steve, what's your Reddit account so people can follow you on there?
Please don't.
You can find us on Cambridge Analytica.
We're on YouFace. We're on YouNow. We're on YouPorn.
Wait, we are? What are we doing on YouPorn?
What aren't we doing?
Yeah, that's a stupid question, Steve.
Okay, what are you doing on you? Anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure you could purchase our data if you want.
Go for it. Just buy it straight from us, though, please. We'll give it to you.
Check out our friends casts. This film is lit. Good, bad, or bad. Beyond the Blast Doors, a Star Wars podcast. Critical Misadventure. Am I forgetting anything on that one?
Do you say this film is lit?
I believe I did.
Okay,
But
cool.
we will reiterate it. Then also thanks to Jeremy Lamb for the theme song, Scott Blackwell for the logo, Andy Wisman for the photos, and I think that's about it.
Bye.